Cops get taught a certain set of techniques. They take 1 or 2 tactical courses, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's enough. Like, that's all I need to go ahead and survive anything that I encounter on the street. When in reality, it's not. I carry the 365X macro, has the Hollow Sun EPS on it, and then I have the Streamlight Glock 47, the Johnny Glock's trigger. I have the Arise shroud and optic plate, and then I have the Vortex Defender XL. You asked for this job. Nobody asked you to be here. That's what I always tell cops. I'm like, hey, come out to a match. Oh, well, you know, this and that. The agency's not paying for it. Dude, you signed up for this, right? So it's like nobody asked you to be here. Nobody's forcing you to be here. You chose to be here. You chose to carry a gun and a badge. And to say that if I'm going to go to a call, somebody needs saving, I'm going to be the one that's able to save them with my capabilities. If you're not willing to invest on yourself, then you're doing yourself and the public a huge disservice.
Hey guys, welcome to the Joseph Manicherry Show. On this episode, I had on Rendell from Romeo Concepts, who is a SWAT officer, a firearms instructor, and competitive shooter. He is a wealth of knowledge in the firearms world, and I think you guys will learn a lot from it. Hope you enjoy the episode. Like and subscribe. It really helps. Have a great day. Hey Rendell, thank you for coming on the pod.
Thank you for having
welcome.
me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I guess I'll start off with a light question. Kind of, what's your opinion on red dot versus no red dot? Because it's a lot of chatter. A lot of people are like, oh, irons will never fail you. You don't even want to get a dot because more things can go wrong and blah, 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 blah. And then that's one take, right? And then the second one people will say is, you know, first learn your fundamentals on an iron sights and then you can move to a dot, even if they believe the dots are fine. So I'm kind of curious what your perspective is on dots for beginners, specifically beginners.
So specifically beginners, my honest perception about it is when somebody's like a first-time shooter or they're learning how to shoot a gun for the first time, there's a lot of things going through their head. You know, you have a pretty much like a small explosive device that's going off in their hand, right? So they're experiencing all these type of emotions, all these things that you're telling them is going through their head. So they have 100 techniques that you're trying to tell them, whether it's the grip, the trigger prep, you know, how to align your sights. All of this stuff is going through their head, and when you incorporate more things such as iron sights, having to line up the front sight, rear sight, you know, blurry sight picture, where what is your sight picture looking like? It's just more things for them to think about. My honest opinion about it is, like my sister, for example, when I first took her shooting, I took her shooting with a red dot gun. Just taught her how to shoot a red dot gun, put the red dot on exactly where you want the bullet to go, and that's it. Mm-hmm. You know, as far as your aiming techniques. And then I was able to focus on, you know, stance, posture, trigger control, and the rest of the
Okay, interesting. No, because a lot of people, I guess, when they're first starting, they can't find the dot. So they like the irons because, like, I guess iron sights, you have like that reference point from that front sight post, and you can kind of line up the rear ones, and it's easy for people, for beginners. Whenever I take, let's say, beginner shooting, they always have a hard time finding the dot. Yeah.
So there's different things, you know, that I go over as far as, you know, when I'm teaching somebody for the first time is, you know, how to have that consistent presentation, right? Beginning with your grip, how are you gripping the gun? If you change variables every single time that you present the gun, then you're more than likely going to have a different outcome, right? So if I say, you know, if I don't tell them about grip and they grip the gun a certain way, option A in the very beginning, then by the third rep, they're gripping it by option B, right? Nothing will be consistent, but I try to lay it out to where, you know, you take out as many variables as you can, give them 1 + 1 and let it equal 2 every single time. But if you add a whole bunch of different things that I'm not good at math about, then that's when, you know, you won't find that dot. And I'll explain to them, like, listen, you know, for your very first time shooting a red dot gun, you're presenting it for the first time. It's new to you. You're not going to find the dot every single time. It's going to take time after time after time after time for you to dry fire, practice, and get that consistent presentation of the firearm for you to go ahead and make sure that, you know, every single time I'm picking up that dot, I'm not going to lose it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, interesting. Yeah, because it's just like a lot of people will ask me, or in general, people are like, oh, why you run it, like, just about the dot or irons in general. And I guess for me, like, you probably feel the same way. Like with dots, it's just with being target focused, especially being, you know, being PD, like you want to be able to positively identify your target, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or I guess PID, and also just instead of like kind of having to go between your irons and your irons and your target, like back and forth, and kind of have it in your peripheral vision, you can kind of clearly look at your target, superimpose your eyes on the target, I guess, and then see your dot in their peripheral vision, right?
Yeah. So you're talking about like
target focus, I guess.
Yeah, target focus. Being target focused, that's what one thing that it completely. You have so many focal planes, like you were just saying about with iron sights, right? You have the rear sight, front sight, then you have your target picture, then you have to go back to it's just running back and forth 100 times. Obviously, there are different techniques. You can still stay target focused with iron sights. You just have to set your iron sights up appropriately. Usually I recommend a fiber optic front sight post and then a blacked out rear sight, right? So essentially, you have a red dot, right? You just put the fiber optic front sight exactly where you're staring, and then at a certain point, then that's when you can start to really incorporate the rear sight. At a certain distance, certain target size. And based on your shooter skill set. But 5 yards in, you have somebody getting into a self-defense engagement. They're not going to tell you that they saw their front sight post, rear sight post, and went back. They saw the target. They looked at where they wanted the round to go. They put the fiber optic front sight post where they wanted that round to go. Then they press the trigger, right? So,
all right. So how do you go about managing being, doing so many things? Like you're a competitive shooter, like a sponsored competitive shooter. You're a firearms instructor and also you're a SWAT officer, right? You're a cop. Yeah. So how do you balance? Like, I'm sure it's hard enough. Like, I have a lot of cop friends from jiu-jitsu. Yeah. And it's like, they're like, dude, our schedule's crazy. We work crazy hours and they can barely balance that with their family life, gym, jiu-jitsu, whatever they're doing. I can't imagine like on top of that weekends, you're probably training, you're doing classes, plus you have to compete and you have to stay sharp to compete with other people who probably can be doing it full time. So I'm just curious how you balance all that. Like, what's your schedule look like?
Work harder. Just that's really the only thing that you can do as far as trying to keep up with the guys, like you said, that do it full time. You have full time firearm instructors who all they do is eat, breathe, and live shooting, whether it's teaching or whether it's competing. As far as me trying to balance everything, I have to have everything on a calendar and make sure I have a family, I have a wife and kid. That's awesome. Yeah, and my baby is about to be 3 years old, right? So it's all these things that I'm juggling, but I have to put everything down on a calendar, and I try to plan things out 3 months in advance.
That's insane. I didn't know you had kids too. That's wild.
Yeah. So, I tell people that because I just don't like hearing the sorry excuses of, oh, I don't have time to do this. It's just what it is for those people. It's not a priority. Right, like they want to be a competitive shooter, but they don't want to be like a deep and rooted competitive shooter, or they don't really truly want to get better. They just want to do it as a hobby, right? So for me, what keeps me mellow is obviously like having that home life balance. Like as soon as I get home, I try to focus on family, shut everything out on the outside of outside of that front door. But once I step out of that front door, it's like a million things that are just running through my head. But and then obviously me too, being a small company, it's just me that runs everything. I have to do the social media, I have to do
all the admin
everything. Yeah, all the admin stuff. So it's like playing 100 different roles all at once. But like I said, it's just having that home life balance really keeps my mental health mellow. Just making sure that I'm like spending enough time with the family. Because one of the reasons why I started off my company was just to kind of have that. One, financial freedom, having my own thing, something that I love doing, training, teaching people, passing on that knowledge that I have gathered through different instructors and experience through practical shooting over the years. So what I try to do is, like I said, I just try to make sure that everything that I'm putting on my plate, I'm able to, I'm making sure that I'm able to give back that full attention that I need to be successful in it. Mm-hmm. So just because I have 100 different roles doesn't mean I'm making excuses saying, oh, I suck at this because I have 100 different things. Oh, I suck at this because I have another full-time job. No, I know what I signed up for at the end of the day, so it's my job to go ahead and make sure that I'm able to keep tabs on everything. But like I said, for me, it's just having that home life support. My wife obviously understands what I do, why I do it, why I opened up my company in the first place was to go ahead and make sure that, hey, or why I started training in the first place was to, to make sure that I come home at the end of shift every single night, mm-hmm. right? If I'm going to have to get into a fight out in the streets as a cop or as a civilian, whatever it is, God forbid ever comes my way, I want to be with the utmost skill that I could possibly ever have, right? And that's what drove me into training. And when my wife saw that I was constantly taking classes, constantly on the range, I would have to explain to her, like, listen, like I'm not going out, not going to the bar or getting smashed or whatever. Like I'm out here trying to be better. So when I go out, I make sure that I come home to you and our daughter.
Hey guys, sorry, quick interruption to the YM show. Here's an awesome product here at Carry Consulting I've been working on for months. Been trying to make the perfect fanny pack, I think, that doesn't look too tactical, that you can use when you're going to the beach, you're going to the gym, you're going to jiu-jitsu or the park, and you want to be able to still carry. You have 2 admin pouches in the front here with waterproof YKK zippers. Here's the main admin pouch. You can fit everything from your wallet, keys, phone. You can have a pepper spray here, a flashlight for handheld, and then a pocket knife, and then you even can carry your keys on a carabiner here. And then the back pouch, I'll show you here, has a pull zipper, like a kind of like a big zipper here, where you can pull, and that way you can access your firearm quickly, and you can carry a compact or even a subcompact, and it doesn't stand out too much. It's not like an overtly tactical looking bag. So if you want to help support this pod and you want a great fanny pack, head over to carryconsulting.info, click on products, and you should be able to find them there. Also, for all our listeners, there's a code YMShow20 off. So that's YMShow20 off, and that should get you 20% off at checkout. So hopefully you guys enjoy these fanny packs and enjoy the show. We'll be right back to the show. Thank you so much. And do you see, like in the police department world, like that people are undertrained in general? Because me as a regular civilian who is passionate about training, I'm trying to get into competitive shooting now. It's just about making the time for it. It's, you see like civilians who outshoot. Oh, I'm generalizing, right? A lot of cops 100%. Who I feel like I could be wrong. There's obviously the 5, 10, 15% out there who are hardcore, who are serious, who train, go to tactical games. They're sharp, but like I feel like a lot of them do it as more of just, it's like kind of just like a job. And you'll even ask them like, hey, is that like what's your everyday carry, or what's your duty gun? Like, oh, I don't know. It's like a Glock 1970. Like they don't even know a lot of them. It's just kind of. No, I'm not saying all at all. By any means, I have the most respect, for police 100%. Officers. That's what I want to say here. But I'm saying, do you see, because you're so involved in training and competing, do you see like a huge lack of skill? Kind of a gap. I'm trying to say, like, do you see a big gap?
Yeah. So what I will say is that a lot of, you roll, right? You do jiu-jitsu and stuff, right? So a lot of times you'll see, that white belt that comes in or whatever, or somebody that's new into the game, they get taught a couple techniques, they roll a couple times, they may win a couple just sparring sessions at the gym, and then all of a sudden it's like they think they're top of the line, right? But then everything changes when you get put in the cage, or you get put in front of 200 people and you're asked to roll in front of these 200 people, and then now it's like, my reputation's on the line, or your ego is on the line pretty much, right? So am I going to get smashed in front of 200 people, or am I going to come out on top? The way that I see it is that, again, not all officers, this isn't for everyone, but it's what you see is cops get taught a certain set of techniques. They take 1 or 2 tactical courses, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's enough, right? Like that's all I need to go ahead and survive anything that I encounter on the street. When in reality, it's not. Right. So a lot of it is you just need to, I guess the best way to put it is understand that if something was to happen, right, out on the street, what I tell the officers to ask themselves is, do you have everything, all the tools that you need, all the skills that you need to go ahead and survive whatever you need to survive? If the answer is no, then you need to get training, right? And some people blame the departments. Oh, if I'm going to train, if I'm going to do this, I want the department to go ahead and pay for my ammo, pay for my gear, pay for my training classes. Obviously, it adds up. Like you take, 5 training classes a year or whatever it is, that adds up. Whether it's ammo, travel, cost, tuition, all that stuff adds up. However, at the end of the day, you asked for this job. Nobody asked you to be here, right? So that's what I always tell cops. I'm like, hey, come out to a match. Oh, well, this and that. The agency's not paying for it. Dude, you signed up for this, right? So it's like nobody asked you to be here. Nobody's forcing you to be here. You chose to be here. You chose to carry a gun and a badge. And to say that if I'm going to go to a call, somebody needs saving, I'm going to be the one that's able to save them with my capabilities. If you're not willing to invest on yourself, then you're doing yourself and the public a huge, huge disservice. Mm-hmm. You're asking for bad things to happen. And that's how you have law enforcement officers who are put in situations and, they end up going viral for the wrong reasons.
Oh, like the acorn the Acorn video?
I'm just saying.
I mean, I'm no one to judge. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's a lot of people Monday morning quarterback and like look at videos like, oh, I would have like some guy sitting on his couch. It's like easier for us to say and look at footage. But obviously, there is footage out there where it's, you know, it's probably, hopefully it's the minority. But I'm curious how you think competitive shooting can help someone's performance, whether they're a civilian or a cop, because a lot of people will tell me, or people will say in general, like, oh, competitive shooting is kind of like jiu-jitsu, like competitive like sport jiu-jitsu. Like, oh, there's no point because in real life, you know, you got to be tactical and you can't train for just, you know, slapping the trigger, moving as quick as you can. But I feel like it definitely translates to real life, and I'm curious your thoughts on the practicality of competitive shooting and how it can help someone.
So, the way that I like to explain it or say it to people is that in a self-defense encounter, right? Let's say you get into a gunfight on the streets, whatever the case is, you're doing your job on the road. The wheels are already at 150 miles an hour. If you are not consistent at driving 180 miles an hour, then 150 is going to seem like it's the end of the world. You're going to smash into the wall. You're going to go ahead and roll the car pretty much. The training that goes around, majority of the law enforcement training, right? It's just cruising at about 90. So if I'm going to say that I am at this level, but out on the street, I'm going to be driving at 150, you're destined to go ahead and just wreck, right? Competition shooting keeps you consistently driving at 180 miles an hour, right? So what you're processing information, you're shot calling, you're moving. A lot of the stuff that you're doing on your walkthroughs is stuff that SWAT officers do before they hit a house, right? So there's different correlations. Matt Adams from Eagle Tactics, he's the one who kind of put into perspective for me. He said pretty much, you know, when you go serve a search warrant, right? You scout on the house. Drive by the house, figure out who lives there, why they live there, how long have they lived there, what's their criminal history, stuff like that. When it comes to a USPSA match, what is that? That's your walkthrough, right? So you're walking through your stage. You're saying, this is where I'm going to stop. This is where I'm going to have the gun up. This is where I'm going to go ahead and do my reload. You're coming up with all of these plans. And then once you're comfortable with your plan, then you start coming up with contingency plans. So you have, if I have a makeup here, I'm gonna change my reload and do it over here, right? And then you're literally running the stage at as fast as you possibly can, and you're still trying to stay accountable to your hits.
You're calculating all those factors,
and you're calculating everything.
Because my first match, I did not know, like I did not think anything about the reloads, and people were like, "Dude, you should have done a reload right before you went to that next stage," because I was like mid stage on a double tap and I had to do an emergency reload. Yeah, so it's like you really have to counter and everything.
Yeah. So exactly that, like, you know, and it's the same thing as a SWAT guy. You have to come up with different contingency plans. If this vehicle breaks down, or if whatever, you know, if the guy starts to run out the back door, this is my plan. This is what we're going to do as a team, right? That's exactly what it is. It's just, as a SWAT guy, you're playing the game now with 10 more, 20 more variables, because you have so many more other officers that are on the scene with you. It's not just like it's not a one-man show. When you're shooting a USPSA match, it's a one-man show. Like, it's you versus everybody else, right? We may be on the same shooting team, but at the end of the day, it's like it's me versus me, right? So I'm trying to go ahead and make sure that I'm trying to come out on top, do whatever I can, be the most efficient, process the information, and still stay accountable while driving at 180 miles an hour. So.
Oh, very cool. No, because it helps you slow down. Like, if you go really fast, then going slower is, you know, it's just a lot smoother. It feels slower almost. Yeah. In a way. So kind of like when you come off the freeway, right? Yeah, exactly. Going 90 on the freeway, you come off 995 and you're going 35, and then all of a sudden 35 feels so slow, and if you were driving at 10, you drive 35 feels fast. Yeah. So what I will say also is that as a SWAT officer, when we practice HR, hostage rescue, right? When we run a scenario with a team, and we get stimulus, or we have screaming, shouting, yelling from a specific area, whatever, of the house or the structure that we're working in, it's ever since I took up competition shooting, I don't think about anything. I just think about, where's the bad guy and how do I get there as fast as I can, right? And it's super, super, like, I process the information faster ever since I started competition shooting. Before, it was, you know, like, you're still
how am I going to manipulate the weapon? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? And you're not thinking about the basic fundamentals anymore because it's just so ingrained in your head from running competitions, right? So
You mean like it's like an extension of you essentially? Like you don't, it's just like throwing a baseball.
correct. Yeah. Like I'm already used to running the fundamentals at such a faster pace that when I get the stimulus, it's just go, find the bad guy. Does the bad guy need some solving? If he needs some solving, solve it. If he doesn't, figure something else out, right? But it's just like I said, like ever since I took up that and we would run through scenarios, it was just like kind of like a light bulb moment. I'm not thinking about the specific footwork. I'm not thinking about how can I keep my how do I keep my dot on my rifle steady as I'm about to take an HR shot. Like it's just that's all stuff that I was thinking about before. How do I steady it? How do I want to set up my feet before I take that shot? Ever since we started running competitions, I'm like, okay, cool. This is how I want to keep my center of gravity. This is how I want to sit lower to go ahead and have a wider base, stabilize my platform sooner instead of faster, and then I'm going to have a steady dot as soon as I possibly can.
Super cool. So how do you get involved and become like a SWAT officer? Do you have to first start off as a regular cop and then be a street cop for X amount of years and then work your way up and then get into, let's say, HRT or SRT, I think, is that what it's called?
Yeah,
right?
SRT or what some SWAT teams are called.
All right. So how does that, what's the process like? Let's say someone wants to become a SWAT guy.
So every department is different. Every team works differently. Some may make it mandatory where they're a cop for 2 years, 5 years, whatever it is, or you could just be a cop for 1 year off probation, and then after that, put in to be a SWAT officer. And then as long as you pass, as soon as you put your memo in to become a SWAT officer, then you'll get contacted. You'll get a date for tryouts. You'll go up. You do a physical tryout. They'll put you through a workout. Make sure that you're able to get through that workout in the standard time. And then you'll go through after that, after you're fatigued physically, they'll put you through a firearms qualification. Once you pass a firearms qualification, then you're eligible to go to SWAT school. SWAT school varies in different places, different states, different cities, different rules. Typically, it's 2 to 3 weeks in South Florida, depending on what school you go to, what SWAT school you go to. When you go to the SWAT school for 2 to 3 weeks, it's very, very rigorous mental training more than anything. It's just you're constantly out in the sun, training, shooting, or running tactics in houses that's extremely hot. So you're waking up at like 3, 4 a.m. to get ready for SWAT school. Then you work out. As soon as you get to SWAT school, you're getting there. You're working out for 3 hours straight. And then after you're done working out for 3 hours, you change and then you start to hit the range for another 6 hours. And then once you're done hitting the range for another 6 hours, then you go to work out again for another 2 to 3 hours. So, and then after that, after you finish that workout, then you finally go home. When you go home, you have to do your laundry, pack your stuff, because all the stuff that you need for the next day is all stuff that you used, that current day. So now you have to just set your whole day back up. And by the time you get done cleaning your guns, making your lunch, packing everything that you need to pack, getting your hydration ready for the following day, it's already about like 10, 11 o'clock. So 10, 11 o'clock, and then you finally get in bed by midnight, and you're back up by like 3 a.m. So you do that for 2 or 3 weeks, and then you successfully get through the program. Again, like I said,
what's the attrition rate on that? People who drop out?
It varies per school. There's some schools that have more than 50% dropout. There's other schools that have like 40%, 30%. It varies. Mm-hmm. I will say this, that if people drop out, it's more than likely due to a mental game. They failed the mental portion. So it's just they're in over their head as far as mental preparation. A lot of it beforehand is just mental preparation as far as understanding what you're going to get into, understand it's a game, understand that you need to do the task that you're asked and do it immediately. Right, and don't have any second guesses, don't have any second thoughts, don't whine, don't moan about what you have to do. They ask you to do 100 push-ups, you just sit there and do 100 push-ups. They ask you to do 100 burpees, you sit there and do 100 burpees, right? Just get through whatever they're asking you to do and then focus on the next task after that. From what I've seen, you have people that they're asked to do 100 burpees, and then after that, while they're doing the 100 burpees, they're having to think about, oh, well, I got to do 100 push-ups probably after this. I got to go run 3 miles after this, and then I got to go shoot in the range in the hot sun, no shade for 6 hours, and then I got to go do another workout. I got to go do this, and then when I get home, it's so easy to quit, right? Especially when you go to SWAT school, you're still a cop. So when you go to SWAT school, if you drop out, if you fail SWAT school, you just go back to whatever your other duties were prior, right? So it's, you have that voice in your head saying, just quit. We'll come back next year. We'll come back into the next school. We'll do some. We'll be more prepared next time. You're fine. You have your job. You're secure. Your body's hurting. You're not fully recovered from the day prior. It's just all the stuff goes on in your head. The most important thing is you remember why you signed up and why you're doing it. To me, why I signed up for SWAT was because when I first became a cop, SWAT was the standard, right? SWAT, if I'm going to have somebody try and show up to my family's doorstep to come save my family, I want the dude that has the highest qualifications to go ahead and do that. And when you become a SWAT officer, that's what you do. You are now separating yourself from the other officers who have regular training, and now you have more training. And that's the stuff that I looked forward to when I first became a cop. I'm like, I want that to be what I want to hold myself accountable to. And when I would go through the SWAT school, whatever it is, I would just remind myself, this is what you said. This is, you told yourself that this is the standard. And eventually that's what got me through.
Super cool. So how long were you street cop for before you got on SWAT?
I was a street cop for 3 years. So 3 years, and then ever since then I've been on SWAT. So I'm still a street cop now. The SWAT team that I'm on is a part-time SWAT team. Majority of the SWAT teams that you come across will be part-time SWAT teams.
So part-time means whenever you get a call, you just gear up and go?
Yeah.
And other than that, you're working as a regular street cop.
Yeah, you're working as a regular street cop. Or if let's say I'm working the road, or I'm working as a street cop, and something breaks out on the opposite side of the city, something bad, whatever, mom and dad fighting, dad has a gun in the house, whatever, then they'll go ahead and they'll utilize on-duty SWAT personnel to go ahead and respond and kind of help with the situation. And then if need be, then they'll go ahead and activate the whole team.
And then are you always on duty? Is it full-time, or is it kind of like a street cop where it's just set hours?
For me, I am...
if there's a bank heist or something, right? You get called out, or how does that work?
So SWAT is 365, 24/7.
Wow.
If I go out of town, I have to notify the team, like, hey, I'm going to be out of town for such and such days at this time. And then that's when, they'll have to acknowledge me before it gets approved. It's usually not an issue. Obviously, it's an issue if 95% of the team or 90% of the team just decides, like, yeah, we're going to go all to Disney. So then it's, you still need some SWAT coverage in the city. But yeah, as a street cop, I work 4 10-hour shifts. But then again, like I said, like I can come home after a 10-hour shift, and I get that phone call saying, hey, yeah, we need you to come back out for SWAT. Cool. And then I just gear right back up and then go right back out.
It's wild.
Yeah.
So what's a cop's biggest fear, like a street cop, like every day? Let's say, you're pulling someone over, you don't know who he is. Is that like the scariest thing where you don't know what it is? Or what's like the scariest, I guess, scenario for your average like street cop, like the biggest nightmare? Like a typical thing that someone like me or a civilian wouldn't really think of, like, oh, what's so dangerous about that? But there's so many unknowns, so I'm curious what your scariest fears, or cops in general.
So to me, it's not more of a scenario that's the worst thing. It's more of whatever scenario I'm put in, did I make sure that I am adequate enough to solve this problem? And it goes back to a training standpoint. Did I make sure that, I did as much as I possibly could to go ahead and solve this problem that I'm currently facing, whether it's a physical confrontation from a traffic stop, somebody that's, amped up, they get out, they want to fight. I ask myself, did you make sure that you were ready to go, right? Or if it's, a hostage rescue situation, did you make sure that you are ready to go? And that's what keeps me constantly training, is I have nightmares of being put in a situation and I did not think about that situation, and then now it's on my plate and I don't know how to solve it. So that's why I constantly train. But to me, any situation, whether it's a sketch car that you pull over or a sketch house that you go to, anything can happen at any given time. Mm-hmm. So it can happen to us, somebody who's a sketch location, like a a bad neighborhood or bad, something that looks just bad, or it can happen at $1 million house. Bad stuff happens at any place at any given time. It doesn't matter where you're at, what you're doing. To me, I have that same mentality every single time I go to a house or answer a call.
Mm-hmm. And then in terms of combatives, what type of combatives are you guys doing versus like regular street cops? Are you guys doing jiu-jitsu at SWAT or wrestling or?
Yeah, so we'll have a defensive tactics training day. Typically, we'll have something that's more, I guess like jiu-jitsu, you could say that. But the one thing that I really like is that program from ShivWorks or Ruben Alvarez.
Ruben at Paradox?
Yeah, Paradox.
I've been watching his stuff for a while. I want to take a course by him.
Yeah, he's very, very good dude. Very good. And he's a full-time BSO SWAT officer.
What does BSO stand for?
He's with the sheriff's office down in South Florida.
Cool.
Yeah, so he is assigned to a full-time SWAT team, but on top of that, he has like a long, extensive history of defensive tactics, jiu-jitsu. I don't know his whole resume. I just know it's longer.
He has longer.
It's longer.
I've seen his podcast. I think on Iron Sights.
Yeah,
I think that's what he was on.
Yeah.
That's how I learned about him.
Yeah,
and been following him since.
Yeah. So, but I've taken his class before.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've taken it, and it was like the stuff that I used to see in there, or that I did see in there, was crazy. Like you had your, world champion jiu-jitsu dude.
You're running sims too, right?
Yeah, and then you throw him into a fight with another guy, who can fairly hold himself on the ground. With defensive tactics, jiu-jitsu wise, and the dude just smokes the black belt or the world champion, jiu-jitsu dude, in a gunfight. So gun goes flying out, and then they start wrestling over it. It's just crazy how things can unfold. But that's the stuff that can and will happen out on the street. You get put in the rear naked chokehold. What's your solution to it? But yeah, he puts together a really, really good curriculum, and he worked coincide to developing that curriculum with ShivWorks himself.
Yeah, Craig Douglas is the man. Yeah. So also because it's more scary for you guys, because if you are arresting someone or putting your hands on someone, your gun's exposed. It's like OWB.
Yeah,
it's outside the waistband. It's not like your average concealed carry person where they don't really see it, so they're probably going for it, and you have to learn how to rip that arm off and fight him off. Yeah, which is wild.
Yeah. It's definitely like a huge eye opener when you take it, because you're like, damn, like I thought I was good, and then you end up getting shot, and then you're like, yeah, if this was real, I wouldn't have gone home today.
I've done it a few times. I mean, not at like a legitimate formal. Actually, I know I did one under. What's his name? I'm blanking out right now. Maybe Spartan Development Group up north. Okay. So he does sim training and force on force. I haven't done his yet, the force on force there, but I've messed around like on jiu-jitsu mats. We'll throw on put out blue guns and stuff and grapple over them, and like it's crazy. Like you think you're gonna get to it, and before you know it, you're fighting over over a gun, and then another. It just there's so many facets to it.
Yeah. It's like I said, like it's definitely an experience, and as a cop, you're more likely gonna go and get into a physical altercation versus a gunfight. However, the gunfight is something that you cannot afford to screw up, because if you send a round downrange and it doesn't hit its designated target and it hits Abuelita on the backdrop, then you're screwed.
No, it's rough.
Yeah, that's something that you're gonna have to live with for the rest of your life. But yeah, like I said, as a cop, you need to make sure that it's not just firearms, but it's actual self-defense as well.
Like health, like everything.
Yeah, you have to just stay on top of everything. And again, nobody's forcing you to be here. Like you asked to be here, you asked to sign up for this. So I get like when people say, "Oh, like I have this, I have that." I mean, or courses are too expensive is the one thing that I like to hear. And it's like, "Oh, courses are too expensive," but this guy's out at the bar every single weekend. Just skip the bar 2 or 3 times, and then go save that money for a training course, and you're good to go. You know, I'm not saying that you have to dedicate your entire, you know, budget to it, but, you know, obviously I understand having a personal life and going out having fun, but if there's a want to train, if there's a will to train, it will happen.
No, and also a lot of people are into buying stuff versus skills.
Yes.
And they'll buy, like, I have friends, like every month they're getting a new staccato or a new rifle build. And I'm like, dude, when was the last time you taken a course? Oh, it's so expensive, like $350. It's $400 for the day. And I'm like, dude, you just dropped $2.5 grand on a staccato. And like, you just got an $800 red dot. Like, they just keep buying guns because they feel like buying stuff will make them safer versus like just, you know, buying skill and investing in skills. Like, you know, I don't really mess with I keep them really stock. I don't try to like, because once you get into like trying to get the newest best thing and you're always trying to get the newer gun, you start buying stuff versus like actual skills. Like I found like some of the best shooters like yourself are running Glocks a lot of the time. You know what I mean? Like just stock Glock 47s or 19s or 34s, and they're out shooting all the guys who, you know, go to the range once a month or once a year with their staccatos or whatever, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure. That's a very good point. Trying to buy skill versus trying to earn skill, right? You know, like you said, you have guys who are just buying the most expensive stuff, or they want to buy this, and like you said, like they just go through a whole bunch of different gear sets. When in reality, it's just like, dude, just take your Glock, take your stock Glock with a red dot, and go to the range, and then put yourself, you know, on a specific set of drills to go ahead and apply pressure, and then eventually shoot a match. Right. But
that's why I started shooting matches, just to keep myself accountable. And, like, and I suck, you know, and just like, that's the beauty of doing like things you're uncomfortable with. Like I didn't prepare for the match really. I just kind of went and saw what it was and saw what my hit factors were, and like, okay, I got to improve. And I mean, it was a fun first match. That's where I met you. For everyone listening, I met you at the USPSA match. It's everyone was running full size guns. Like, you know, I came with like a 43X.
I mean, at the end of the day, dude, it comes down to why are you training, right? So are you training to win nationals, or are you training to be an accountable citizen who's carrying a gun legally, right? For somebody who's training to just be a regular dude carrying a gun legally, then by all means, just take your concealed setup and just run it. Right?
That's
like,
what I did.
Who cares, bro? Like if you're not trying to win nationals, you're there for you. You're there for your personal growth. You get more reps with your concealed carry. You get to put your gear under pressure, you know, and pretty much just say, hey, like if I was put at this amount of, you know, if I was put at this pressure, then I could go ahead and I know my gear will not fail me, right? My gear's not going to go flying off my belt, and my gear's not going to snap in half, or my red dot's not going to fall off because I just bought some like Temu, whatever, you know. You have to make sure that everything that you're using has been applied at pressure by you, right? Once you have applied it under pressure, and you have more of a, not standard, but you have more of a understanding of its capabilities and what your setup is actually allowing you to do. So, and
then speaking of guns, what's your EDC these days and your EDC setup? What are you running like when you're off duty?
Yeah, so I mean, if I carry like a couple different guns.
Want to do a pocket dump or?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Let's see. So it's just a stock 365X macro.
So that one doesn't go off, right?
No.
I'm just kidding. If everyone listening is talking about the 320. What's your opinion on that, actually, the 320? Do you think it's a 320 issue or it's a end user issue?
No, it's 100% a 320 issue.
Okay.
And I think anybody that thinks otherwise is just not wanting to accept the facts that are there. I personally,
there was a lot of drama on that because the GBRS put out a video and like everyone was like,
I personally, for my training classes, I do not allow the 320. I'm not trying to take any liability. I'm like, hey, listen, if you want to shoot your 320, that's your 320. You own it. Go to the range by yourself. Not in my class.
I love that.
Yeah,
I'm super anti-SIG guy. Yeah. No, because I had a friend who's a lawyer here in Aventura. Obviously, not going to say his name. Great guy, and when he was buying the 320, I was like, dude, don't do it. And he was like, why? And I was like, I'm like, look, there's been so many guns, right, that I've never heard any issues. MPs, Walthers, Glocks, never had any, PD say, hey, these went off in a holster. I'm like, but there's been over 40, 50 stories of local law enforcement saying it went off and it went through while it was on an outside the waistband holster, and SIG was blaming it on holsters, SIG was blaming it on different things. And I'm just saying, look at it like this. I'm like, I haven't seen any accusations against any of the other companies, right? Like Smith & Wesson, like Glock, like Walther, but there's a million on this 320. I'm like, I wouldn't do it. Like, it just, also their guns are like a lot of them, like a lot of QC issues.
Yeah.
I think they make super cool guns. Like the MCX is really cool, and the 365 line is really cool. But I kind of told him that, and he was leaving his office, and like he does, he put the mag in, he sent the slide home. And he's been carrying a gun, for everyone listening, he's been carrying a gun for 15 years, and he never went off. So people will be like, oh, it's an end user maybe, but he's been carrying before that, I think it was a Glock or a 365 for many, many years, and he never had any issue. So glass window like this, he put the mag in, he sent the slide home, and the bullet flew outside. Literally, the gun went bang, the 320 went bang, and it went out his window, thank God, into the sky. Cops came, there was a whole thing. And it was there. He's like, dude, I never had this happen. Like, I swear. And nothing happened to him in the end. It was just like a whole thing. And it was crazy. It was with 320. And this happened last year. Like, I know him personally.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like there's just way too many things going on, and until they acknowledge that there's a problem and they do something to fix it, and it's like, I don't want to be anywhere near that. I don't want to have that liability. Like, I don't want to, as I say in my classes, like, I am undefeated world champion of not having any injuries in my classes, and I want to keep that. So to help make sure that I keep that title, I want to make sure that I have, good quality guns that are not gonna just go boom boom. And
also you carry appendix, like most people these days.
yeah.
All right, so let's get back to the pocket dump. So
I mean, this is just like kind of like my my gun that I take down the street, like if I'm just traveling locally or anything like that. I carry the 365 X macro, has the Hollow Sun EPS on it, and then I have the Streamlight, or the other light that I run on it is a nightstick. Nice. But other than that, it's stock. I haven't done anything to it. I just I run it a couple times here and there. But if I leave or go out of town, I'll take a Staccato C2 with me, just to kind of have that extra oomph if I need it. But then I'm also looking into getting the Walther PDP.
Oh, those are nice with that, like the pro. The triggers are nice.
Yeah, super nice. Really, really good guns. So I wanted to get the PDP as a carry gun with the PMM comp. I mean, like, if I can carry that on a daily basis, then that to me is kind of like my one all solve all.
That's cool. No, it's definitely doable. Like, you can. Yeah. I think the PMM's like with Parker Mount Machine Comp. Yeah, those are cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I can rock a Glock 34 with an X300. Yeah. It's doable. I mean, with a good holster and a good belt.
Yeah, for sure. And just,
you can get it with anything.
You just have to make sure that you set it up according to your body. Like, you're not going to be purposely printing.
100%. Yeah. So you run every day, like, let's say every day you run your gun, and then do you carry a flashlight, tourniquet? I'm just, curious what a guy like you carries.
So yes. So if I travel, if I'm going distance, I'll take like an IFAC, or I'll take my my light with me as well. But other than that, like, I just kind of, again, if I'm traveling far, then I'll take a spare mag as well. Mm-hmm. But for like this setup, I have like the T-Rex holster, and then I don't have it with me now, but I have the sidecar, which allows me to hold on to a tourniquet with it as well. Sometimes I'll do that, just depending on what's happening or what am I doing.
Cool, very cool.
So
awesome.
Yeah.
No, I was just curious, but you compete. You don't compete with SIGs, right? You compete with the Glocks.
Yeah. So the reason why I chose to shoot Glock was only because of it's my duty gun. I just want to have as much repetition as I can possibly get with my duty gun. Mm-hmm. So I don't shoot my duty gun. I have my own. I have two personal 47s. I actually have them with me now.
Oh yeah.
All right, so safe and clear. So what I run is the Glock 47 with the Johnny Glock's trigger. I have the Arise shroud and optic plate, and then I have the Vortex Defender XL. I've used a couple optics for competition, and to me, the Vortex Defender XL is like my go-to. I'm super happy with it.
Yeah, Vortex is pumping out a lot of nice stuff. They have like the CCW Mini and the regular, right?
Yeah, they have the ST and the CCW.
So that would be compared to, let's say, like the 507 comp, the Hollow Sun?
Yeah. But to me, for some reason, it's just like it just feels. Whenever I look through the optic, it just feels like I'm looking through my TV. Like it's gigantic. But yeah, I love this thing, and I have had zero issues with it. To me, if I can run a Honda and catch Ferraris, then I'm at a good point.
100%.
So,
and then what type of slide release is that? Is that like a Jaegerworks or?
Yeah.
Those are cool because I find myself like not getting slide lock because my thumb on my grip will kind of like ride on the slide release.
Yeah.
So with those, kind of it rises up, and you don't really hit it, right?
Yeah. And then I also have the 15-pound guide rod in here, and then I run it with the 147 grain from Hot Munitions, which is a veteran-owned company out of Ohio. It's a veteran-owned ammo company out of Ohio, and their poly ammo is like stupid soft. Like it's insane. You mix that with the 15-pound guide rod, and it's insanely soft. So,
it shoots super flat.
Yeah. So a lot of my videos, people are like, "Oh, like you have like no recoil in the gun." I'm like, "Yeah, dude, you shoot a 147 grain from Hop, and you throw in a 15-pound guide rod. That's the outcome." So
no, super cool. Like people would like I saw you shooting I think you were top of the scoreboard that night, and like you were like you see all these guys with fancy staccatos, like I was saying, or Atlas or whatever. Yeah. And you're running the freaking pretty much a stock 47 besides like the trigger.
Yeah. So, I mean, then like I said, I throw on the Talon grips just to help with the grip with this South Florida weather.
Yeah, I just stipple them. That's what I usually do. I don't believe in like throwing in all this stuff in it. I usually just stipple it. Yeah. But that's different. You're competing.
Yeah. I mean,
makes sense to sauce it up.
Yeah.
And then why don't you run? Just curious. Like if you already running the 47, what about like the 48 or the 43X for a carry, just to keep it all congruent?
Yeah, so that's been on my mind too. That's something that I wanted to also expand on in the future, as far as having picking like another EDC.
Yeah, because they released. I mean, today for everyone listening. Yeah, but this podcast might be released in a month or so. So it's June 24th of 2025. Yeah, so they just released the Radiant Ramjet for the 43X.
Yeah,
so
yeah, super sick. Cool. Radiant makes really good stuff as well. But yeah, and then to me, the reason why I wanted to go with the PDP as like a new EDC is because it's something that's like fresh out of the box, has a great trigger. Maybe all you need to change is a spring on it, but on the guide rod. But after that, then just throw on an optic and you're good to go.
Yeah, Scott Jadolinsky, when I took his MSP course, he was running. I think he's sponsored by Walther. He runs PDPs and they look nice.
Yeah. I mean, I've shot a couple PDPs and I've told myself ever since I shot them, like, dude, I need to get one of these.
But it's like switching everything. You have to switch all your holsters, all your mags, just like a whole
new setup.
Yeah,
you gotta get new base plates. You gotta get
because base plates are not cheap. Like base plates are $40-$50, and you probably have like 20 of those. Yeah, each mag's $30. Holsters probably hundreds of dollars of holsters.
If my wife is listening, it's like $10.
Yeah. So no, it definitely adds up. So super cool. Yeah. And then what do you see like people who want to compete? Like what's the biggest mistake people make? Like if they want to level up, they want to get to, let's say, A class, master, GM even. What do you see common mistakes people make, and how can they get better?
So there's a couple things, right? So there's one of the things I'll say is people chase splits instead of visual confirmation of what they're seeing on the red dot, right? Or that they're seeing with their gun. So they're just trying to shoot fast, not understanding what's really happening. But also people trying to not really understand the game. They kind of just want to be as aggressive as possible, just run from position to position and just shoot whatever they see. To be efficient, there's a lot of other things that you could focus on, target transitions, right? Appropriate visual confirmation, and not just trying to split the gun as fast as you possibly can. And when you take like a like a no-shoot
for
target.
just for sorry to cut you off, for people listening who not necessarily in the whole firearms world or in competition, what does splits mean?
So just pretty much just trying to fire. It's the time in between rounds, right? So when I fire around the time that it takes for me to fire the next round. So people just in essence, people just try to shoot very, very, very fast.
What's your fastest splits? Like a 12, 13, or what's considered? Like I think I was doing like 18 or 19 splits.
Yeah, I've
Not fast
broken,
at all.
Yeah, I've never broken. I don't think I've ever broken 11, but I think I've gotten 12, 13.
Wow.
Yeah, I've gotten 12, 13. Consistently, what I can do is probably 15, like 15 splits. But I will say that if you could consistently get 18, 20 splits, stop chasing splits. Like chase other details that will help you become a better shooter or better, gamer, if you want to say that. But once you break 18, 20 splits, like that's it. Your topic out of there or your motivation out of that world is done. Breaking 18 or going under 18 is just for fun at that point. But yeah, so like I would say the target transitions is, or just copying people and not understanding why they're doing it. So like there's times where, I see like newer shooters, they'll try to copy somebody who's been doing the game for a while. And they'll say, oh yeah, like, that was a good plan. I'm going to go run it. But why was it a good plan? What made it efficient? What did they do? What were the details? When did they start moving on the targets? Did they begin any movement on the open target as they were exiting, right? And you'll see typically people who don't pay attention to the details, they'll take an open target and start no movement until way after the fact. They're super, super delayed. So it's, again, the little details of when they have the gun up, when do they break the gun down, how soon or how early do they start to settle into position or exit position. Those are all like little details that people can work on to go ahead and level up. And then as soon as you're getting to applying the proper technique or the efficient practical shooting techniques, that'll bring you up to A class. And then I think that from like A class to M class, it's just finding that other gear that you can say, hey, I can go faster. I don't need as much visual confirmation on this as I thought I needed to. And then your transitions also, it always comes back to transitions. Was I late on the transition? Or am I transitioning like without a purpose? Or am I moving there like somebody is trying to kill me, right? So that's the way that I like to put it into mindset. When I'm transitioning targets is, hey, am I just bringing the gun to the other target, or am I bringing the gun to the other target with a purpose, right? So from a self-defense standpoint, am I bringing it to the next target like somebody's trying to kill me, or from a competition standpoint, am I bringing it to the next target like I want to win the stage, right? So you have to move with a purpose. If you don't, again, it goes back to you're not going to be able to process that information. You're not going to allow yourself to process that information on that next level.
And then for your average concealed carry guy, I feel like lately there's a lot of people getting into it. Like since COVID, it's becoming more mainstream and less I guess like a taboo. I mean, we're definitely in Florida, but in California, even you're having a lot of people get CCWs and a lot of people getting, carrying a gun. So with that comes a lot of liability. So I'm curious, you as a cop and an instructor, what you think is the bare minimum of skill. I know it's kind of hard to define, give an answer for this type of question, but what do you think is like, okay, now someone's good to carry? Because you'll have people now in Florida, since it's constitutional carry, they'll go to the gun shop, they'll buy a gun, they'll put it in their waistband. They've never taken a formal course. Like, I've been to an indoor range with AC and they've shot. Like, where do you see, I guess, potential dangers with it? And also, what do you think is a good way someone can prepare and be ready? And what does ready look like? Like, what's enough for someone to be like, okay, I can go out and carry a gun?
So I would say, again, if you're going to carry a gun and you're new, haven't trained with it at all, you need to get that training in and that experience, because you need to know what you're going to be able to do if you were to get into a self-defense engagement, right? A lot of people, if you just buy a gun and decide to carry it, you need to understand that you're opening yourself up to a lot of liability. Because you're not as good as you think, right? And the only way to test that and what you're seeing and what you're saying is pretty much, run a match. When you run a match and you think that you're, the best, right? And then you go to shoot a match and you end up in last place, there's a reason for that, right? So when I would say somebody should carry a gun once they understand the basic fundamentals of shooting. If you understand the basic fundamentals of as far as grip, sight picture, sight alignment, or stance, posture, trigger control. Once you are able to demonstrate all of those things, then you are no longer a liability with a firearm. Is essentially what you are, right? Again, and you have to understand. It goes back to why are you carrying? So people say, "Oh yeah, I'm carrying to protect my family, or I'm carrying to protect myself, or I'm carrying to protect my business." Okay, but what preemptive measures have you taken to make sure that you can, besides purchasing a tool, right? So it all comes down to mindset. It's the same exact thing with, unfortunately, law enforcement officers, going back to that full circle, right?
Yeah.
So, like you have law enforcement officers who are saying like, oh yeah, well, I'm going to protect my community. Well, what preemptive measures have you taken to make sure that you can protect your community besides showing up to in-service, which is, your department side training? Besides attending your department side training, what else have you done, to make sure that when this happens, you're going to be good to go?
Do you think it's because they don't think it's going to happen?
No, I just think it's just like anybody else who runs their mouth. They just never been punched in the mouth. They just haven't been checked.
Because there's a lot of civilians,
Yeah.
right, who are, well, I know personally, or I'm sure you know a lot, that are in the competition world, regular civilians that will outshoot most
100%.
cops. And it's like, if you have this average guy who has a full-time job and he's competing on the weekends and training, once a month taking a course or once a quarter taking a course, and he can outshoot most cops. It's a scary thing. I think Scott Jelinski, I don't want to misquote him, but I think he said something like, we're at one of the classes. He's like, if any of you guys are attending my class, it's most likely, you probably will outshoot 90% of cops. Or he said something like, I don't know. Yeah, something like that. He said like 90-something% of people who carry never even taken a course, like a tactical, a full day, like kind of like when you get a car, you have to do at least 16 hours of driving. Where here it's like, okay, here's a gun. I'm not against that. Freedom's awesome. But it's like, take that responsibility and do it. So you don't think it's like, oh, they don't think nothing's going to happen. That's why. It's more of just like complacency, or what do you think it is?
I think it's more of just not having the proper exposure to a problem that you need to solve with high skill, So somebody who, like, I just feel like they just, again, haven't been checked. They haven't been put in a situation where it was like, damn, I'm running on very, very thin luck if it goes right. And it's something that you need to expose yourself to, which is what competition shooting exposes you to. So I don't think it's more of, I guess you could say it's complacency, but again, it just goes back to never actually hopping into a ring and saying that like, hey, this is where I need to be at. But, just food for thought, like when I started off tactical shooting, right? I started off taking a whole bunch of tactical courses when I first became a cop, trying to supply myself with as much knowledge and experience that I needed to make sure that I'm good on the streets. Once I did that, then I shot a match. And then when I shot a match, I was like, I did horrible. And it was something that was like way over my head. So when I did that, I was like, damn, like I thought I was good to go. And then everyone that beat me, again, when you shoot your local matches, like everyone's typically very cool, very like chill, so it's easy to talk to people. When I asked one of the guys, I'm like, hey, what do you do? He goes, oh, I'm a dentist. I'm like, bro, this guy just spanked me, and this guy's a dentist, dude. Like, I'm not in a good place right now. And that's stuff that like you need to consider. Like, like I can get my stuff rocked, right?
Yeah.
I just need to hop into the ring once or twice and have that exposure. And once you have that exposure, it's just like anybody else. Like once you give them that exposure, they're going to be hooked to it. They're like, oh yeah, I want to get better. And it's an adrenaline rush at the end of the day too. Like you're running around with a gun.
Yeah.
So doing all that stuff, like that's how you get the competition bug.
Yeah, it's kind of like jiu-jitsu in a way. It's like you think that like, oh, I'm a tough guy, I'm strong, I'm athletic, I'm fit. I can handle myself, until like you have this 12-year-old kid who weighs 120 pounds, who chokes you out, takes you down, taps you out. You can't do anything about it. And you think like all your willpower, like, it's kind of a cliche line, but it's very true. As people say, like, you don't rise to the occasion. You fall to your lowest level of training. Yeah. So I guess it translates perfectly into, shooting, competitive shooting, which is also kind of a martial art in its own way. Yeah. It's like the modern day samurai, like the modern weapon, what 100%. A samurai used to carry was a sword. Now it's, it's a gun, modern times. So
100%.
Not any different.
You see it all the time, like on Instagram, like you see those videos of like, your neighborhood, like street brawler thinking that he could fight. And then he hops into a gym and then he's asked to, wrestle with a female, and the female ends up choking him out. Yeah. Right. So it's like, you're a badass in your group of circle, which is around people who are not highly trained. Right. But you hop into the ring with somebody who's trained or somebody who shoots competitions. You're not in a good place. Like, you're going to get rocked. So.
No, it's just like surrounding yourself with better people that can push you to be harder. Like, whatever it is, anything in life, whether it's in business, whether it's in, I don't know, anything. Like, fitness, whatever it might be. Yeah.
What's that quote that says, like, that was like,
whether you're average friends, you're the average of that one or no?
No, there's that quote that was like, if you're the smartest person in the room, then you probably look for a different room.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So. That's what I try to do. I mean, wherever I go, whether it's in business, jiu-jitsu, training, all that, I try to go where I'm the worst. And I'm asking questions, when I was at that match, I was like asking you and a bunch of other people questions like, hey, how can I push my times? How can I get to B class? How can I get to, whatever it is. Yeah. So I kind of want to pivot into now, like what's going on, like in the general world with, we just had like the little war with Iran and Israel, and we had the open borders with Biden the past 4 years, and people are saying, there's potential illegal immigrants who came in. I mean, there were definitely lots of illegal immigrants who came in, but I'm saying the potential for sleeper cells to do, acts of terrorism here in the U.S. Do you think that's likely? Are people chattering about that, talking about that? Like, Pierce, what your insights on that? Do you think it's just fear mongering, or what's your opinion on it?
No, I mean, I would say that, living in South Florida, it's a huge, diverse population. It's a heavy, like South Florida is obviously heavily populated. It's not, I think of it is if it happens, it's going to happen. Like, it's already happened in Florida itself. You had the Pulse nightclub shooting a couple years ago, right? And that was somebody who's been radicalized into the environment and then now carried out domestic terrorism. You had the airport shooting at Fort Lauderdale not happen a couple years ago as well, so stuff will happen. It's just a matter of when it happens, so it's not that I don't want to, I guess, build fear into the people, but it's just a matter of understanding, like, this is the world that you live in now. Like, you have to be cognizant of your surroundings because something's bound to happen. Mm-hmm. So,
do you think more than ever, like specifically now with the environment, or just in general? Because like there was just a mass shooting yesterday or 2 days ago in Michigan at a church. Yeah. Right. Yep. A guy came with an AR, a vest, a pistol, everything. And thank God he didn't kill anyone. There was I think a church member saw him, ran him over with a car.
Something.
And then he got up and he started like shooting at. They had like a security team. The church security team was a few guys. He was just on the news yesterday, and he started shooting at that guy. Hit him in the leg, but the guy put him down. And no one was harmed, and there was literally a bunch of little kids, like 50 or 100 kids doing like activities inside the church, and that was yesterday. There was another shooting. I mean, it's crazy. It's like every week there's a different mass shooting, so it's just like wild.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think that stuff is prominent just because of one. I mean, what's happened the past couple of years with open borders and people just coming in and whatnot. You never know what's going to pop off, but it's just, from the way I understand the world right now, from what I see, it's just a matter of when it's going to happen. It's just not, obviously nobody really knows of when it's going to happen, but something's bound to happen. And obviously the politics now, it's may not be something directly from overseas, but it may be somebody who is just not right in the head, and then they see stuff and they act out of anger or just not having the right mental mindset of a normal human being, which is why they carry out whatever they do. are going to carry out. So, but I mean, as I would obviously, recommend or suggest is that if you are going to, be out in big group settings, always always plan for an exit. If something breaks bad, what is your exit strategy? Which route are you going to take? Where's your car parked? If I have a mass rush of people run this direction, am I able to get to my loved ones if I'm with my family, or am I able to go ahead and safely get to my vehicle? If there is someone that's injured, or my family member is injured, or I'm injured, how am I going to treat myself, or how am I going to treat my family? Do I have the proper medical techniques, or do I have the proper medical gear to go ahead and do whatever I need to do? So
and with law enforcement in Florida being that so many people here, because I'm originally from California, where there's not that many CCW holders, but here in Florida, where it's fairly common, I think there's like a few million CCW holders. So do you guys train for, God forbid, arriving to an active shooter and having to differentiate who's a CCW holder, who's not? Like, is that something you guys ever train for?
Yeah,
like identifying, like, hey, there's you got to call in, hey, guy with a gun. But you show up and there's, a bunch of people in plain clothes with guns.
Yeah. I mean, I've been put in training scenarios before where, the guy with the gun was, with their other hand, they were holding a badge, and it was for scenario purposes.
Like blue on blue type.
Yeah. Like it was another officer. And obviously, like, if you're under stress and you're running, again at 150 miles an hour, you're not processing the information correctly. It's easy to make that mistake. And that's why, making sure that you're adequate enough, or you've been put under pressure enough to go ahead and make proper decisions. But going back to what you're saying, it goes back to PID. Like, you need to have proper PID that, hey, this is the bad guy, this is the person that's been hurting people. As law enforcement officers, like, you need to make sure that the person that you are sending a round at is the person that deserves the round. And it's not somebody else, like you said, like it's just a church security, churchgoer or anything like that. Like, you have to make sure that this is what I am perceiving with my eyes is what is actually happening, and it's not something that my mind is just playing games with. So.
Okay, no, very cool. Very cool. It's just something I think about. It's like, let's say like a concealed carry guy is at a Publix, right?
Yeah.
And there's the guy comes in with a rifle, he starts shooting people, and then he deploys his pistol. He starts shooting back at him, or he puts him down, whatever it might be. But the cops, you guys get a call, hey, active shooter at a Publix. You roll in, but the aisle, you come down, you see the concealed carry guy with his pistol out, and they might put him down. But assuming you guys have to give certain commands and whatnot.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, for sure. Like, you're gonna give commands. You're gonna, you're reading human behavior at that point. Does that person look like he's just like he's just going off the walls and he's just trying to kill as much people as he possibly can, or does he look like he's under stress, trying to like save somebody else, like he's covering somebody else? And a lot of the times it might not be, it doesn't even have to be as big as somebody that's like a mass shooter. It could be something that's like, hey, road rage incident, guy pulls a gun on the other driver, and then now the other driver ends up having their own gun and then shoots to defend themselves.
That's like Florida every day.
Yeah. So so it could be something as simple as that, and you have to go there and make sure, once you identify the target with the firearm, give the appropriate commands, tell them, whatever you need to tell them, and then take control of the situation. And if they are listening, or make sure that you're able to understand that you're physically there, like you're just not like hiding behind them or whatever. You're yelling, drop the gun or whatever.
That's rough for you guys, because you can't take that shot. You have to put yourself in danger by saying, hey, PD or whatever, and then they have to turn to you, which gives a potential bad guy a drop on you guys.
Yeah. But again,
sucks.
It's the information that it goes back to processing that information at 180 miles an hour. Like 100%. You need to be able to make those decisions, and then not turn it into a betting game. If I bet big, I'm going to win big, because if you don't and you lose, then you're going to probably be in jail for the rest of your life.
And for cops in Florida or in general, how do you guys view your average concealed carry holder? Is it a positive thing, a negative thing? Do you look at it as like, hey, God forbid something happens, they could take care of it potentially before we get there? Or do you look at it as a negative thing and more of liability in the public? How do you look at it personally?
Me personally, aside from being a law enforcement officer, just being a regular dude, I strongly encourage people to carry a firearm, right? To go ahead and make sure that they are able to take action if need be to protect their own, to protect themselves, whatever it is, right? At the end of the day, if somebody is there to hurt their family or them, law enforcement will come. However, it will be 10, 12 minutes. Like we're coming from like a miles away, right? So it's gonna be a while, and I don't want to have to say that you have to rely on us responding 10 minutes later, because a lot can happen in 10 minutes, right? Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, it's something that I strongly encourage. However, as much as I encourage it, I also encourage people to get and seek the proper training, right? Make sure that you are adequate enough to carry a firearm and not just carrying it because, you have the money to buy a gun. Mm-hmm. Staccato 2400 gun.
Yeah.
So, like I said, like you just have to be sure that what you're carrying is something that you're able to actually use appropriately.
Mm-hmm. And then I guess to kind of end it off, because we're getting a little past the hour mark, which there's no real limit, just kind of usually go around an hour or so. How does it feel being, a law enforcement officer here in Florida, where people actually respect you guys? You actually have, people aren't throwing you under the bus. Kind of like where I'm from originally, California, cops are like, dude, this is the worst thing ever. Like, I'm doing my job, and I'm scared if I do it correctly that I'm going to be put in jail, and they're just going to throw me under the bus. So how does it feel having a governor like DeSantis and everyone who's very pro, the law enforcement here? Yeah. Does it feel like, do you guys have a sense of that, like the Florida cops, or how is that?
For me, like that, it honestly helps a lot. It's like it's very very how do you say it? Like it helps me mentally. Like I don't have to have that stress, because there's different stresses whenever you hop into this job. There's stress of your family. There's stress about this. There's stress about that. There's stress of the politics of the game. Like, am I going to get screwed over? Politically. But having someone like DeSantis, or having people who back you, and a neighborhood that backs you as far as what you're doing and loves that you're out there protecting the community. Obviously, there's that small, very percentage that are going to hate cops no matter what, no matter where they live.
Until they need one.
Yeah. And even then, they'll I've been cursed at. I've been asked for help. I go to their help, and then I end up taking their loved one to jail.
We only curse at you guys when you give us tickets.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And then they end up hating me, when I take their loved one to jail. Well, I'm like, well, this is what you called me for. You called me to help you because,
domestic violence you're talking about. Yeah, those are so rough to watch.
Yeah. So you have, dad beat up mom calls the cops, and then mom's upset that I'm taking dad to jail. I'm like, well, I'm here to help you. I'm here to make sure that he doesn't continue beating you up. But I mean, again, it's good. It's always going to happen wherever you go.
No, it's good to have, people supporting you guys. And I think what you guys do is amazing. Like, also the social media has gotten hilarious. There's some cops in Florida just trolling away.
Yeah.
Like before, like the riots that started, they were happening in California, like all the ICE riots that are happening now. Yeah. So I think a Florida cop came out. I'm sure you saw it. One of the sheriffs. I don't know what county he's from here. Surprised it wasn't that Polk County sheriff. It was hilarious. Yeah. But he was like, look, if you spit on a cop, you'll be hospitalized. Yeah. If you hit a cop, you'll be hospitalized. Like he kind of like went through a whole list of things. Like it's not California. It's not New York. Yeah. So it's kind of cool how they have your back. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And especially with the current sitting president, he's very very supportive of law enforcement officers. So, just to have that back by the community, it takes a huge weight off your shoulders. Like you don't have to go to work thinking like, am I going to get politically screwed even though I do the right thing by the book? Yeah. So but it's very, 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 very good.
Okay, very cool. And where can people find you? Like, let's say someone wants training, you do courses in Florida only or all over?
So I travel. I teach mainly in Florida, but I also do travel. I'm supposed to go to Iowa. I went to Texas earlier this year to go teach. Possibly could go to Minnesota, and I'm targeting also to teach in Tennessee.
Oh, very cool.
So again, if people have a range and they have a group of dudes or gals who want to train, I'm more than welcome to come out there. I'm more than happy to come out there and come pass on that knowledge that I've been getting or experiencing.
Okay, super cool.
Yeah.
And you do private lessons too, group lessons, everything?
Yeah. So I do one-on-ones or small groups, and whatever people need. But they can reach me at romeoconcepts.com, or my Instagram is Romeo_concepts.
Okay, very cool. So I'll put everything in the information below. For everyone listening, this camera just died, actually. It's fine. This one works. That one's good.
Awesome.
Everyone listening, like and subscribe. If you enjoy this podcast, if you're still hanging around here around the hour and 15 mark, you probably enjoyed it a bit. So just subscribe. It helps us a little podcast. And send Rendell some love.
Thank
on
you.
his Instagram.
Appreciate
All right,
it.
guys. Thank you for listening.